So the full version of Raid World War II came out, and I originally reviewed the beta, which was extremely mediocre, and so now we're reviewing the full game, which is still mediocre. I have a lot of trouble explaining how I feel about this game, because while I really wouldn't recommend it because it doesn't have any redeeming qualities that would make me say that you should go out and buy it, I still would not recommend it, because even though the game isn't impressively good, it really doesn't mean it's that bad. I mean, the game works for the most part, and there's probably a niche of people that would really enjoy it. However, there's just really not that much of a draw to the game. Usually when I get a new game, I obsess over it for at least a few days because I just constantly want to continue playing it and beating it eventually. But with Raid, not so much. I've played probably like 6 hours of the beta and about equal amount of time with the release, and I'm already getting kind of bored with it because there's some stuff that they did right, but there's also some bad decisions that they made along with some technical flaws with the game. I think that the summary of the game on paper is a good idea. If you came up to me and said, oh, this game's like Payday 2, but it's in World War II with a group of covert ops people, I would probably really enjoy it because it breaks away from the modern era enough not to be a copy of Payday, but it'd be different enough of a game to not mix in with the rest of the World War II shooters. And the thing is like the concept and the setting of it really provides a lot of different types of missions, locations, and goals that you could take, because World War II took place all across Europe, and it was an era where we actually had a decent level of technology. Technology was advanced enough to act as actual gameplay element, and so like I think it really had a good opportunity to kind of capture all that and put it into an interesting game. And the humor and general attitude keeps the game from being as gritty and serious as a lot of the genre. You have John Cleese, which is a major comedian that acts in a lot of the cutscenes. He was in Monty Python's Holy Grail, and he actually played King Harold in Shrek. And the Hitler cutscenes I think were pretty funny. As well with the banter between the characters. And overall, I think if they 100% delivered on this game, it would have been something really good, but they didn't because they made a lot of really bad decisions. So I talked a lot about it in the beta, but I still think that the idea as a whole is pretty dumb. So they have this base camp system that you have to do everything in, and they took the idea from Payday 2, which was a really cool thing that they had in that game, and they made it into a core feature. In Payday, it's really customizable and a completely optional part of the game. If you really don't want to get into it, you never have to step foot into it. And there was also mini games and different kind of customizations, and so there was reasons for players to actually go there, and they had the NPCs walking around and stuff, which I think were pretty cool. Raid took this idea and made it mandatory if you want to play the game. You can't select missions, join games, or customize anything without loading the camp. Everything is done through the benches that are spread out between it, and there's an option menu while you're in the camp to do things, but really it just makes things really inconvenient. If you want to play the game, you have to start the game, select play online, load the camp, walk to the bench, and then join a game, which a lot of times takes you to another camp anyway, so it really doesn't make that much sense. And if you're playing between games, the game will end and it'll load the camp. You have to walk over to a bench to upgrade your character. You have to walk to a bench to upgrade your weapon. If you want to change your class or clothes, you have to walk to another bench. If you want to start another mission, you have to walk to a bench to start it, and then walk to another area that says that you're ready, and then you have to go into a menu and hit ready. And if you really want to go to another lobby, you have to back out into your own camp, walk over to the bench, and then join another mission, which will put you in another camp a lot of times. And it makes the process of actually playing the game 10 times slower and a lot less intuitive for absolutely no reason. I mean, you can possibly customize the thing, but there's really no benefit that the camp actually provides over just having a menu. Like, just literally give me a menu so I can actually play the game without spending an extra 20 minutes to do it. Another thing I had a lot of criticisms about is the missions. I said during the beta that I hoped they'd add missions with a little more substance, and while they added a lot more missions, they're still really forgettable. I played through the Clear Skies operation, and while I like the multi-mission format, it just still really wasn't that good. There's 3 maps that are recycled from other missions, which are Odin's Fall, Wiretap, and Amber Train, that all appear in the operation, except it's just a slightly different part of the map, and I think they might have changed a couple different little spots. And there's really not a lot to the missions in general. You usually either just go in and take stuff or people out, or you go in and do something, and in the end you always escape. The locations change, but the general strategy and gameplay stay the same. The missions lack that personality that Payday had that I think makes the game really bland. I mean, Payday had so many different little parts of it that added up into an interesting experience, because you had things like cameras and stuff, and combined with the classes of the players, like it really brought the game up into a different level. And the game is still honestly kind of a clusterfuck. I tried to play hard mode and it just still ends up with a horde the same way that the normal mode and the beta ended up. And the game also tends to forget the concept of cover and defense, and it usually has people coming from all directions missions, and there was points within the game that I died, not really because I did something wrong, it's just that I ended up in a spot where I really couldn't take cover from anything anywhere because there was people coming from all directions and it just kind of left me out in the open. And the other thing I really don't like is it seems like all of the missions take place in one general area in Germany. I said before that World War II took a place across all of Europe. You have from Russia all the way to the beaches of like France that they could pick from, and they still just kind of kept it into this one little tiny area in Germany, and it's honestly really boring. I wish they expanded it out a little bit more just to kind of see more of Europe as a whole, but I don't know, it just really kind of disappointed me the way they took that. Another thing I really didn't like was the classes. They tried to build a character around each class, but it never really worked out that well. The only difference between a lot of the classes is the guns used and the war cries, and the war cries are honestly mainly useless because they tend to only honor a minor boost or a dumb extra. I've never really found a point through playing like 4 hours of Demolition where the war cry was actually useful, and I think this is a huge step back from other games with set classes like Battlefield and Payday and other games like that, because usually the classes have special tools or abilities that no other class has. Like they can drop ammo or heal people, they have special equipment like rocket launchers or other little gadgets, and they usually have some kind of ability that sets them apart from the rest. And they took this idea and limited it to a selection of guns and weapons. I think that some of the guns are interchangeable between the classes, but there's only a couple of class-specific guns. It makes it seem that there's really no reason to pick one.
Oh, you're gonna like it! Look, the barricade held the tank up! It is not joining!
That the game had a couple technical issues that made it annoying to play, especially hosting. I like that the game has player hosted matches, but the actual networking is kind of bad. The game itself works really well until stuff starts working because it has no concept of host migration, and this creates a problem that was solved over a decade ago. I mean, host migration existed in Modern Warfare 2, which came out 8 years ago in 2009, and it was probably done long before that, and it sucks that you still have to deal with the problem that if the host leaves, it kicks everybody out and forgets their progress. I think that the game should just take the minute to find another host and transfer everything over to there, because like it sucks that you have to be punished when one player decides to quit. The other problem I really had was the graphics. They still just can't make the game look good. It looks like it was released to compete with World at War. They gave the enemies a little bit more variation than the beta, but the textures and models still look really flat and dated. I still wish they had some options for the higher spec players to make the game look better, but I don't think that's ever really going to happen. And of course there were some minor bugs, but it really wasn't as bad as a lot of major releases, but they were still annoying. At a point where the host had to complete all the objectives in Amber Train or the game wouldn't really register them. We had the whole team pull a switch and it didn't do anything before the host did, and when the game ended it didn't even allow the game to end because even though we were all standing on the train it just kind of sat there. And the game has crashed lobbies on me, or at least the game, in a couple of times, which is weird because I never had these issues with the game during the beta, and it kind of sucks to have all of your progress reset because the game just decided to stop working. I think they fixed some of these problems in the most recent update though, but I'm still just kind of salty about it. I don't really know if I could come out and directly say that it's bad, but it just really suffers from severe mediocrity. Usually I justify game purchases based on how much I spend on them per hour of enjoyment, and I try to aim for that to be under $1 an hour. I don't know if Raid really has the content and replayability to even last 40 hours of play, which kind of sucks. If the game were like $15 to $20, I could see some appeal, but for $20 more than what the game is charging now at $40, you can get a lot better game because it feels more like a budget shooter than anything, and they're trying to aim at least close to that full game price. So if you're looking for a kind of meh co-op game, I'd probably recommend picking it up after a while and when it goes on sale, but for full price this game is just a little too much.